All right, everybody, this is it. Episode 1. I've taken some time this week to be able to reflect, write down some notes. I think I have some pretty cool things that we can not only have some fun with through storytelling, but also have it be something that we take away from this podcast. And so this is episode 1, Chronicles of Consistency. And I'm going to tell you the first time I found out that I worked for Tom Brady. Now, a lot of you guys probably know the name. He's obviously the GOAT. And I remember specifically one time in 2021 when there was a lot of drama. I think a lot of it was coined the TB12 drama. And it was around the tail end of the Tom Brady, run at New England. There was obviously a lot of good, a lot of Super Bowls, but a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that was happening was actually there was an internal struggle between Belichick, the New England Patriots, and the person who has been the lead in a lot of the success, which was Tom Brady and Tom Brady's team. And one person on that team was a gentleman by the name of Alex Guerrero, obviously my name. And so around 2021, I'm about 9 years into my business, and I feel like I've accomplished a lot beyond my football career, beyond what I'd been doing. I had some momentum with the society. We actually had just rebranded from Elite Sports Society to the Society. But I started getting like a beret of messages with people just telling me to keep my head up, that they're so proud of me. I won't name names, but like these were really deep messages that I was getting just back to back to back DMs. And I'm like, dang, man, a lot of people are either like keeping in touch with the fact that maybe, I don't know if I'd just been fired by someone or if some player of mine was hurt without me knowing it. As a rep, your phone is always on you. So you're actually always waiting for bad news, potentially, especially in the sport of football. So like one of my vices is that I always have my phone with me. And during football games, there's only 2 times people hit me up: when something good happens or when something bad happens. So when I'm getting these text messages, the first thing I do is I Google all of my clients' names, right? Patrick Peterson, Tyrone Crawford, DeMarcus Lawrence, Archie Bradley. At that time, I think there was a couple more, but I'm looking through everything. I'm like, dang, what's going on? Like, why are people giving me these messages? And I start reading a little bit deeper into these messages, and a lot of them have like messages of like, keep your head up. And so around 2021, when the TB12 drama was happening, there was a struggle with allowing Alex Guerrero of Tom Brady to be and have access around all of the New England Patriots facilities. He had his own, the guy's access was unreal. He was on planes. He was on, a lot of he actually had a brick and mortar rehab spot within the facility of Gillette Stadium. And so there was all these news articles that came out that said big split between Alex Guerrero and the New England Patriots. So when I start kind of breaking everything down and realizing that these text messages of consolation, but also a lot of messages of like, I'm so proud of you. I actually specifically, one of them said, and I'm pretty sure it was a 714 number. So this had to have been either a former junior high, high school, elementary teacher who told me, and I quote, "I knew you were going to amount to a lot, but seeing what you've accomplished, even I'm impressed." So I'm like, dang, when I read that, I was like, dang, this person must think my agency's doing great. Like I felt pretty good about myself. Patrick Peterson, future Hall of Famer. But that message was like, that resonated. So I had to backtrack a little bit. I realized these people all think I work for Tom Brady. So honestly, like throughout those messages that I was getting them, I knew something was up. And here's a hint. Whenever those things happen and whenever you're looking out to reach out to someone, use Google. Like Google's an unbelievable tool. I usually use it every single day. I'm typically a person who's communicating a lot with people. And so whether my communication is, cheering someone on or trying to stay top of mind with someone that maybe I want to work with, because you never know what's going on. Like the ebbs and flows of entertainment, sports, everything, there is no day like the other. So I always make sure that I Google. So obviously these people that were reaching out to me that were part of my past did not bother, or maybe they didn't have time, or they just thought that highly of me to do a quick Google and realize that the Alex Guerrero that's working with Tom Brady is actually this like 63-year-old man who's been part of Tom Brady's team forever. But again, the fact that they thought highly of me enough to have worked with someone that had won all those Super Bowls, was on top of the world as far as media, endorsements, marketing, all those things. So shout out to them for thinking of that. But I just really thought that was a really great story to bring about, something that we could take away from that. And to me, the one thing that I take away from that is, Tom Brady fought for Alex Guerrero. Tom Brady wanted him in the building. Tom Brady wanted him part of as many things as possible in his life, so much so that he's actually has his first son. Alex is the godfather for his first son. And, when I started reflecting a little bit about that, like, how does that speak to me and to the things that I want to convey from this podcast? And it's, listen, even the GOATs have a consistent team and understand that they need more than just what they have within themselves, within their own circle. And for someone like that to achieve those things, you have to start looking a little bit deeper than just the accomplishments on the field, the training. And I think as the TB12 stuff became more public, people started realizing this success is not just a coincidence. Tom has been setting up all these pieces in his lives, making all these decisions. And frankly, someone in my position, I was able to see, well, one of the most consistent things in his life is his team. You start looking at it and you start reflecting on the fact that, wow, this Alex Guerrero figure was so important to Tom that he was willing to publicly be in a spat with the New England Patriots and fight towards the fact that he wanted him to have access. He wanted him to be around him, and he still has him around him and is part of that team. And so I started thinking, it's like, in life, we always look at these people that achieve so much, and we want, we have the Tony Robbins of the world, and we have the Gary Vaynerchuk's of the world, and we want to learn from these successful people. But sometimes, especially when you have talent, and I think you guys are here, you'll hear this a lot from me, and I think that there's something called a talent trap that a lot of us fall into when we have some sort of a gift and a talent, and we really rest on that talent, and we rely on that talent so much that we become blind to the things that are right in front of us. One of those things, this perfect example that we have is Tom Brady, someone who saw success, at an early age, from his first Super Bowl all the way to, the consistency that he had at the end of his career winning Super Bowls. He saw value in having a consistent support team around him. I know that he currently still has the same representation that he had throughout his entire career, Donyu and Dubin, which were actually people that recruited me coming out. And, when I started watching his career, starting to get cynical of the industry, I actually always wondered, dang, I wonder if Tom Brady's ready to leave him. Because in this industry, you never see people that see success that start with a smaller agency, stay with that smaller agency, and you start becoming cynical. And I just gained so much respect for Tom as I started looking at all the components of his team and seeing that, hey, that was part of what he saw as his equation for success: consistency in his representation, consistency in his therapist, in his, in his diet. It's been very well documented, the TB12 approach, through his book, through the products that he sells now. And that consistency is what can lead to having the type of business that he has today off the football field. And I think that's just something that we really need to look at. We're so hungry to find out what the formula is for success. And sometimes it's right in front of us. I feel like during our paths, our journeys to success, we tend to think that it's all about us, and we tend to think that, and I know why, because, obviously I live this life. It's a lonely road to the top, and you hear that, it's cliche, but I think some of that gets sold a little too much, that we forget that the people around us play just as big of a role as what we do. And Tom Brady's a perfect example of that. Same agent, same trainer, godfather to his parents. He sees value in that, and he's the GOAT. So when we're having these forks in the road, when things aren't going our way, and we think, oh, it can't be anybody, it can't be myself, so let me look around to see what needs to change. Whether it's an agent, a trainer, whether it's, unfortunately, your spouse, right? We always like to look outside of everything else other than ourselves instead of leaning on that consistency that can support someone like Tom Brady, someone who, if anyone could write a story about how they wanted their career to go, I think Tom Brady is a perfect example. So I think no matter how gifted we are, we need to pay attention to the little things that make the outliers, the one percenters, and really pay attention, because I think there's a lot to be learned from that. And, the Tom Brady, Alex Guerrero tale is a perfect thing to look at. Okay, so this is something I'm really excited about. I wanted to infuse my personality, my style into these podcasts. And one of the ideas I had was to talk a little bit about reflection. And I mentioned this in the opening, and the reason why I started this. And I do feel like I have this unbelievable gift to reflect. Glass half full guy, I get called out a lot. And why I can have like the positive mindset through a lot of tough times, good times. I just feel like I have this way of reflecting and leveraging that for my peace of mind, right? Or just for my entertainment. And one of those things that have been like recurring in my life is shoes. And if you guys follow me, you guys know I've been incredibly blessed to have some unbelievable partners, people that I've built great relationships with, people that I've known for, from the day that I started my company, have been rising in the sportswear industry, most predominantly at Jordan Brand and at Nike. And so I was sitting in my room and I saw this big wall of shoes, and I had some like pause to say like, well, do you really want to be showing your shoes and why you got them, who you got them from? But then I realized like every shoe has a story. And I want to start something on this podcast where I can tell a story that really speaks to, again, the message we're trying to convey, and let you guys know that that's through reflection. And when you reflect in those things, you can start realizing where the dynamics of why that happened, what you can learn from it, and how to move forward with it. And so one of the shoes that I thought of today that could be perfect for the first shoe that I showcase, because it has an unbelievable story that not only speaks to my past, to the way I handle myself as a person consistently, to how they play a role in my life today, is my first pair of Air Jordan 3s. Okay, so these right here, I have to say, I'm not going to lie, these are not the original box. I had to pull these from the Tinkers, but these are my first ever Jordan 3s, and these I got in 2007, my rookie year with the Minnesota Vikings at NBA All-Star. I want to show them to you guys real quick. You can see that they're the OG. You can see they got some wear and tear. I didn't keep very many shoes from when I played in the NFL. I didn't buy many Jordans until I started working with Jordan. And so these, when I was kind of putting through, donating some things, I said, man, I have to keep these. And what's really, really unique about these is the story behind how I acted and how I presented myself the day I got these was a asset and a value to how I ended up reconnecting with the person who gave me these shoes. So it's 2007, and I'm trying to enjoy my first offseason as an NFL player. I was trying to call in all the favors, trying to make sure I was everywhere that I could afford to go, right? Even though I didn't have much money, I was trying to find a way to network and just be around people. That's my thing. So a group of us get together, and we decide to go to NBA All-Star. It's me, Mike Dominguez, Kobe Carl, who I was actually living with, who was currently playing at the time with the LA Lakers, his friend Nick. We even had Jason Murray. And then I think there was one more person, and Eric Lane. And I still have this epic photo of us at the Ghost Bar at one of the casinos there. I forget what it's called. It was owned by the Maloofs. I forget what the name of it was. But so one of the things that happens, that I wasn't aware of was, for professional players, there were these gifting suites. It was an opportunity for brands to engage with athletes of influence, right? Whether it be, or entertainers of influence. NBA All-Star is really this big mixing pot of everyone that has a platform, whether it be actors, musicians, needless to say, I saw the most chains I've ever seen in one place, in one area. Probably a majority were fake, but it was just the place to be. 2007 NBA All-Star in Las Vegas, couldn't ask for a better atmosphere. And so through some great contacts, one of my favorite people that actually really taught me the game of networking and marketing and product seeding was my friend Saya, who was the head of sports marketing at LRG Clothing. And he had a great friend in John Nielsen, who, now he's a coach, but he's been a consultant in marketing for a long time, has worked with people like Boys to Men. And he was really close with this gentleman named Reggie Saunders. And at the time, I didn't know this, but this was one of the first 2 years of Reggie Saunders' position at entertainment marketing for Jordan Brand. So I get this invite, and it's a text message. It's like, hey, go up to this suite. It's the Jordan Brand suite. You got to go check it out. Meet my boy Reggie. And I'm like, of course, I'd love to go see Jordan. At the time, I'm thinking it's going to be this immersive shopping experience. And so I get up there, I talk my way in. They have my name. I dropped John's name. I don't think they actually had my name on there. And so I had to, throw out a couple text messages and get me in. And so I get up there, and it's like everything you can imagine, like one of the best suites in Las Vegas, filled with every aspect of Jordan, whether it be shoes, bags, banners. It was heaven, right? And for a rookie in the NFL, undrafted rookie, this was all new to me. So fast forward, I finally get to meet Reggie. He comes out from the back, and I introduce myself. We exchange pleasantries. We hit it off. We start talking about Boise State. The big Fiesta Bowl had just happened. I actually remember that day I met one of the head executives at Apple who had just launched iTunes, and they mentioned to me, once I told them that I played at Boise State, that how great it was to have the Boise State game be one of the first Fox Sports shows that they put up on iTunes, because it almost broke the system, as many downloads as it got. By the way, one of the best games of all time. If you've never watched the Fiesta Bowl 2007, you have to go watch it. It was definitely an instant classic, and we can get down to stories around why I didn't play in that game and why I'm salty to this day about it. But that's another podcast. So going back to this, we're talking to Reggie, and we're hitting it off. And Reggie says, all right, man, so what size shoe are you? I was like, I'm a 13, Michael size. He's like, oh, that's dope. So he goes in the back, and he brings like three beautiful boxes with a Jordan 3, a Jordan 5, and a Jordan 11. And I remember thinking in my head, like, this is dope. Like, but why did he bring me so many? Like, I don't have enough money to pay for 3 shoes. Like, and he's got a bag with him that's like this custom bag that it's actually like a laptop bag that on the bottom, it actually has the bottom of a 3. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, this is going to run me a couple grand. I already spent too much money in Vegas. I don't know what to do here. But, he hands it to me. I start looking around for where the checkout counter is, and I don't see a checkout counter. I was like, so Reggie, where do I pay for these? He's like, no, man, they're yours. And obviously mind blown. I was like, wow, this is really the way that rich people live, bro. Obviously, I was super thankful. I text John, I text Saya. I remember wearing them the same night to the T-Mobile party, and I came home, and Kobe Carl, who was on the LA Lakers, is like, damn, bro, I didn't even get invited to that, so I felt kind of cool. But that was 2007, right? Fast forward all the way to 2000, and I would say 2019, I hear rumblings that there's a Jordan Brand connection at Boise State. So I start making calls, and I start hitting up my boy Taylor Tharp, who was, on the staff at that time. And he's like, yeah, man, we have this kid on our team named Jordan Happel, and his dad is Reggie Saunders. And I don't think anything of it, because it's 2019. It's been 12 years since that 2007 interaction. So it's not really registering that this name. But right away, I'm like, Tharp, man, let me get that number. Let me introduce myself. I send out an introductory text. I thank him for sending his son to Boise State, and we hit it off. I tell him about my growing business. I particularly reached out for Archie Bradley, who was currently turning down all sportswear deals while he was on the D-backs because his dream was to be a Jordan Brand athlete. So part of my brand plan for him was make as many introductions to the Jordan Brand team, over-deliver on ways that he was showcasing how much he loved the Jordan Brand family, and see how we can get him on. And so that interaction went really well. We ended up staying in contact through text message. Nothing, no magical pair of shoes showed up to my house. Archie didn't magically get an endorsement deal with Jordan Brand, but I remember specifically seeing an opportunity to connect with Reggie when Archie was having his first Archie Palooza, and I knew that Reggie was coming in for a baseball tournament. And so I have some great friends at Santan Ford, and long story short, I found a way to get an expedition parked at the airport for his baseball tournament, invited him to Archie's event, and, I even left a little Alex Guerrero touch. I left some sunflower seeds and some Big League Chew in there, and I will tell you, things changed from there. Reggie was someone who, I think a lot of these people that get asked for a lot, they typically like to flesh out the situation and the relationship to see if these people are genuine, right? These are people that get hit up all the time. I've snuck a peek at their unread messages, hundreds of unread text messages, all soliciting something, right? And so I took the opportunity to give before I ever asked for anything. And that was a testament to the way I was raised. I was part of a family that was typically selfless in their giving, whether it was a meal, whether it was the way we took care of people in our congregation at our church, to the way that my dad handled his students. And that was the way I was raised, knowing that, not knowing if there was anything to come from that. I wanted to show him here, welcome to my city. Come over and meet Archie face to face. Let's figure out a way for you to meet him, and let things take from there. But everything that happened after that, is really between us. But what I wanted to share is that once we finally started reversing course and talking about, I think John Nielsen's name came up. I was like, wait a second. In 2007. Were you at a gifting suite at the Vegas All-Star game? He's like, bro, that was my very first All-Star game. And yes, and now that I think about it, I do remember you. And so I just want to pinpoint that you never know when you're going to meet someone that you've met in the past. So make sure that first impression that you have is a memorable one and a pleasant one, so that when situations like that backtracking and realizing, I think in so many ways, and maybe we'll have Reggie on here one of these days, I'd like to think that that's solidified, this is someone I want to support. Right? We are by no means WME, CAA, Athletes First. We are a young, hungry agency that was looking to achieve a specific brand plan for a guy, that was a middle reliever in the major leagues. But he saw something in me that day, and he saw something in me and the consistency of who I was as a person, and he got a full 12 years of no communication and realized that 12 years later. And so those are great ways to reflect. And again, when I see those shoes, I'll send them and when I wear them, I'll send them a quick photo. I was like, man, I can't believe it. And those are what I think make relationships so special and reflection so special. So shoes play that role in my life. For you guys, it could be music. It could be, a certain scenery, a certain place you travel. But to me, I'm going to be telling stories about shoes because I got some unbelievable ways to reflect off of those. And that one was our first one. This has been the Chronicles of Consistency, episode 1. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions. If you know me and you want me to retell a story that I may have forgotten, let me know. Shoot me a text, shoot me a DM. But I appreciate you guys for listening. And until next time.